Good evening, friends. Thank you for joining Candid Meena every evening to follow what's happening in India and abroad. And thank you for sending us your useful comments and suggestions. If you believe in this channel, do hit the like button, share with friends, and spread the message. Our only mission is to bring you the truth and both sides of the story. Thank you for your support. Today we have a special guest. It is Sanjay Newar ji, and he has a huge fan following. He's a social activist. He's against trafficking, social injustice, and cruelty. He promotes Vedas, yoga, Sanskrit. He's a data scientist from IIT, and he's the founder of Agniveer and Sevanyaya. He also operates a Twitter account by the name of Gems of Bollywood, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Sanjeev ji, yeah, you can tell the audience about yourself and everything.
Namaste, everyone. Thank you all for joining and listening to me. So, as Jaydev ji very briefly said, yes, I work in the social sphere and I also operate in data science. And naturally, because of this, my engagements, even in social sphere, have been more analytics driven or more, rigor driven, rather than just going by the waves and tides of emotions. And in the whole process, at some point I realized that one of the big nuisance that we are facing is in form of the propaganda or the lies, the dirty propaganda that has been done through many Bollywood films, and that is where and the things took a to an extreme situation with unfortunate death of Sushant Singh Rajput and the way the whole investigation of his death was carried out. And that was the point that I then couldn't hold myself back, and I had to uh, break the shield of political correctness or being just goody goody and then question these people. And that is how Gems of Bollywood came up. And I'm thankful to everybody that people gave it a great support. And this support was not for me, but that support was for warriors like Sushant Singh Rajput, who had to unfortunately give their lives to bring this truth to us. So that I would say is from context of today's discussion. I would say that suffices as an introduction, and we can go ahead and discuss more in the discussions.
Yeah. So can you tell us, like, Gems of Bollywood was started after Sushant Singh Rajput's death, or was it there before?
No, no, no. It was started after his death. In fact, a few months after his death. So Sushant, I think, died in June. Was it?
Yes, 2020.
Yes, yeah, June. And so this was started sometime in August end or September. So it was not actually. See, Sushant's death, of course, was a shocker for everybody. And a young man dying in this unfortunate circumstance was an awakening. And those were those bad times of the first wave of corona hitting, and we were already, everybody was in a very pensive mood overall. And but then the way the investigations of the death were carried out, and the way things evolved, the way the whole thing took very dirty form in media, and the way the celebrities, the biggies, even from Bollywood, they reacted or chose not to react to his death. That was, I would say, the triggering point. And so around, yeah, after 2.5 months, when we found that this is not going anywhere, so we could not hold ourselves back. And I would say that it was a natural culmination of probably our anger and grief for that death.
Yeah, before SSR, there were a lot of mysterious deaths in Bollywood,
Yes.
and also which were shown as suicides, right? And so, but after SSR, the people really awakened. You would say that.
So Bollywood, yes, in so I'm really surprised, I mean, and of course, there is also social media these days, so that we can actually take our voice ahead, and the people are also far more awakened. We are no more those slaves of the propaganda which has been fed to us, which was the truth even till few years ago. So those changes have come, but otherwise, when this death came, and I have been, to be honest, at one phase of my life, I was a Bollywood fan myself, and I would try to struggle to find motivations and good things from Bollywood, and it was more like searching for needle in the haystack, but I would still want to do that because that was the only source of entertainment to us. And I would follow the lives of many of these Bollywood fans, these heroes and celebrities closely. And what struck me was that, in Bollywood, I don't know why, many people have this fetish of walking on the terrace and then they suddenly fall down. And Manmohan Desai has a back pain, he falls down, and then his death. Divya Bharti falls down. She is dead. Death. She's dead. Then Disha Salian,
G-
before this, she
Jia
also
Khan.
falls down. Zia Khan. So suddenly, and then we are told that okay, that was an accident. This was an accident. This was an accident. And then when the Sushant Singh Rajput, the way they refuse, they it is almost like they have this fatwa system in many countries that one Qazi will simply come and say, "Ki, okay, this is this," and then no more investigations required. So the police also, in a way, said that no, there is no foul play. And then today, the irony is that the people who were leading that investigation, they are themselves, at least one of them we know is himself absconding. Uh, and so those were the people. No, we don't want any investigations. And then the way the investigations were delayed, and by the time those other investigations could happen, there were no evidences left, and then nobody could explain why a brilliant man, a brilliant man, not only from perspective from compared to the average IQ of people in Bollywood, but a far more brilliant person compared to average IQ of this country as a whole. Somebody who's an Olympiad winner, somebody who's a physicist, who's many of the, if you look at some of his social media messages, he talks about quantum theories and stuff. So he has a brain. Somebody as brainy as him and somebody who's a rising star, why would he just commit suicide?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and then the saddest part was that even if he had committed suicide, even if he had committed suicide, which I don't believe, still, if such a young man of your industry has died, uh, where is the solidarity of the industry towards that fellow? Where is that grief? Today, after 1 year of his death, 2 years of his death, do we even see anybody remembering him? Do we see any films which are dedicated to him? Do we see anybody talking about how it devastated them? So it's almost like a chapter has been closed and then it has been buried away. So obviously this means that there is something much deeper that lies beneath the death. And so it was not only about this death. I would say that the focus of Gems of Bollywood was not to focus on Sushant Singh Rajput's death, because there was already and there is even today, I would hats off to these warriors, SSR warriors. They were already taking up this initiative, and even till today, I see that nobody has forgotten him. Even today, every few days, Sushant Singh Rajput trends. He's among the top trends, and people question Bollywood. So that was already there. Our goal was to the dig out those further deeper things. I mean, those source of the problem, of which unfortunately Sushant Singh Rajput's death was one of the ugly symptoms that we saw. So what are those reasons? What is the mindset of these people? And that we also decided that to be very honest, being connected with many people in the industry, we do get because I am a social activist, and my colleague Swati Goyal Sharma ji is a journalist, and she has also been a film journalist at one part of her career. So we do get a lot of insider info about what different people in the industry are doing. But we as a policy decided that look, we will not even get into the insider info. We will just deal with the information which is already there in the public domain, and we'll show the patterns out there, and we will then try to show, okay, this is the face, this is the reality which has been hidden from you right in front of your eyes. So that hypnosis of Bollywood was that we thought that that needs to be broken and the truth has to be brought out.
So, like, could you sort of, highlight some of the findings what you found from this case?
From
I mean, you said you observed a pattern or something like that. In
Yes, yes. So patterns. So for example, Bollywood. So right now I'm just talking of the observations. I'll not get
yes.
into why this happens. That's a different part. But one of the consistent patterns is that they would not leave a single opportunity to mock anything related to Hinduism. To the extent that, if some of the people, in industry, uh, if they had shown their open allegiance or overt allegiance towards Hinduism at the expense of not pretending to be secular and respecting other faiths with the same fervor, with the same passion. I mean, those people were also kicked out or isolated or, just put to a corner and then they got jobless. So, so even since, let me talk about Mother India, for example, considered to be one of the classic films. First of all, it's not a classic film, it's a nonsense film. And I don't want to mince word on your show because there is a word candid out here, and I want to respect and try to be worthy of that word and talk accordingly. It's a self-proclaimed, it's a category, a cartel which comes together and it self-proclaims that okay, this is the best. We have that. One of those memes going on where Jawaharlal Nehru is himself announcing the Bharat Ratna and giving himself the Bharat Ratna. And he's saying, okay, my birthday should be, celebrated as a Teacher's Day or something. I'm not sure if he did or not, but just I'm giving an example. So this is like self-proclaimed people who did Mother India film, which has been hailed as a classic. First of all, the film is full of blatant, very blatant, silly details, silly errors in the details. The 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 villain of the film is a Sukhi Lal, who is a bania. But if you look into the film, he's dressed as a pandit. He wears a dress of a pandit. He has a shikha and a bald head, which is the typical dress of a pandit. So very clearly, the the makers of the film did not know a difference between a banya and a pandit, in a village. Probably they were not even exposed to how a Hindu village looks like. All they wanted was to bash Hindus. The name of the film itself, Mother India, was adapted or plagiarized or maybe deliberately used from a book by Catherine Mayo, published I think in 1923 or 24, which had created a huge, massive uproar in this country. Every single freedom fighter, irrespective of their uh, other political differences, had condemned that book. Catherine Mayo's Mother India book mocked the country, its culture. It said it is one of the ugliest culture, and even somebody like B.R. Ambedkar, uh, who is traditionally said to be a critic of the conventional model of Hinduism. Even he had the harshest criticism about that book, and he said that who is that lady to talk about what happens in our business, and so it is such a shameless thing that a book on which everybody from Lala Lajpat Rai to Swami Shraddhanand to B.R. Ambedkar, every stalwart of our freedom movement, of the legends that we talk of, they had written against the book. They had written long, long articles against it. Uh, Mehboob Ali, or whatever his name was, this fellow makes a film mocking or kind of so-called exposing the Hindu culture of this country immediately after the independence with the same name of the book. And the irony is that of the three writers of that book, one of the writer later goes away to Pakistan. He made a couple of more films bashing again Hindus, and then he goes away to Pakistan. You look at the film Dag, considered to be one of the classics of Dilip Kumar. So there is a scene where he says, "ये भगवान ने ही हमें बर्बाद किया है, ये हमें छोड़कर जगत नारायण को सब देता है, मैं इसको उठा के सड़क पे फेंक दूंगा." And then that actually was perhaps one of the first films after which the whole genre of films began, where there would be a typical patented scene where the hero or the heroine or an actress who she goes in front of the Bhagwan God and then says, "Tu kitna nirdayi hai, tu kitna papi hai, kuch to bahut ho gaye tum," and then to make some extra to put some special effects. Sometimes the heroine will be raped inside the mandir itself, but that doesn't happen. You never find even a struggling Muslim to be even slightly angry on his Allah. So this was one of the blatant trends that we saw. Another trend was that obviously Bollywood never made any innovations. I'll be blunt. If you have been observing, if you have been watching the old Hollywood movies and even British movies, you would see that they would see even the dress they will just copy. So in a Bollywood's suspense movie, you will find somebody coming in the night wearing a hat and an overcoat. I mean, how many people in India even today, if somebody walks with a hat and an overcoat in any of the streets of the country, the street dogs will chase him and make sure that he runs away. But they have to just copy. The music was copied from some Latin music or some folk music or somewhere. They had no originality. The only originality that they brought was they would find a way to bash Hindus. They would find a way to glorify a particular minority community primarily. They would find a way to create typecast, a different communities in a very mocking way. So there will be a Madrasi, so which is one of the greatest comedy films, Padosan, which is all about mocking a Madrasi Pandit. So a Madrasi Pandit Brahmin. So this Mahmud comes and ayyo hum tumko ye bola ji ye kiya ji वगैरह करके. So that is how they would do. Or so even Christians were not spared for that matter. A Christian would always be a ma'am, an old woman who will be and there will be guys who are always drunk. दारूबाज होगा तो Christian होगा. There was only one community which was spared, and that community, I mean, we'll come to the reasons later, but that's again a trend that you observe. Every single, you mock Bengali, you mock Punjabi, you mock Madrasi, you mock even Marathi. The irony is that the film industry, the Bollywood film industry, or the Urdu wood, I would say, industry that operates from Mumbai, but then even the Marathis are mocked. Hey, Pandu. So Pandu Havaldar, Pandu Rang is a local name of Bhagwan out there. It is considered to be avatar of Vishnu. Oh, Pandu becomes a joke out here. Pandu Havaldar, eh? So there is that typical half pant. You don't find these people wearing those kind of a dress, but Bollywood makes Pandu Havaldar. They will do that. So they will mock everybody, but they will spare only one community. Then the other innovation that Bollywood do was they will teach us how to molest girls. And this, I would say, is a far bigger sin that Bollywood has committed compared to even mocking of Hinduism, because that created a perception, that you are a man or you are a hero if you can go and you can eve tease a girl. You know, terms like line marle, kya mal hai re. So these were some of the innovations, and the women of the country also, they kind of at some phase, they admitted that this is our destiny. That agar if we are not being molested, probably the problem lies in with us. So there are and then on the other hand, they will try to portray women as somebody that who should take extra efforts to make sure that they get molested, or they somebody whistles to them and these things. So these were some of the innovations. The another innovation that Bollywood did was uh, the innovation of pedophilia, which directly comes from the Urdu shairis, the Urdu ghazals, their role models. I mean, if you read the some of the best Urdu poets, for example, Ghalib, for example, Mir Taki Mir, you will find poem where they show how aroused they are when they look at a young boy, even a young boy with whose beard is growing. So, and about women, for example, there is a very common word which will be used in many Bollywood songs. Comes in. Comes in means underage. Comes in by definition means a minor. Comes in, who has not yet become an adult. So comes in Javani. The other songs will be Sola Baras Ki Katil Javani. So when they know that the age of marriage is 18 years, by 16 baras they want ki the girl should be, ready for being eve teased and etc. अब मैं 16 बरस की हुई, मेरी चोली तंग होने लगी. So these were some of the innovations that only Bollywood has brought, and the inspirations are also uh, somewhere from deserts. So, so in the whole process, I would say Bollywood has made money. Bollywood has made money by distributing filth, by distributing crime, violence, everything negative that it could among people, among gullible, poor people, instead of taking a responsibility of educating these people and elevating these people to higher ideals, higher moralities. This is what they did. And whatever the mainstream culture of this country was, which had sustained this country for ages, 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 the dharmic culture, so that was mocked. Sanskrit language, and mind you, Sanskrit is not a language in isolation. Every language in India is full of Sanskrit words. Even Tamil, which is technically a separate language from Sanskrit, but if I speak a Sanskrit oriented Hindi, a Tamil fellow is also far more able to understand me, because there will be a lot of words which are similar. Uh, and other languages, of course, so because that is the base of the language. But here, what happens is, and even the constitution says that okay, Sanskrit should be our root. At one time, Baba Sahib Ambedkar wanted Sanskrit to be the national language, and here they proactively chose that we will not use any Sanskrit in our Bollywood films. Even Marathi language, for that matter, is full of Sanskrit words. But they said, no, we will not even use Marathi language. We will only use Urdu. Urdu is again a language, I tell you. The statistics say that Urdu is among the least understood languages of this world. Surprisingly, even in Pakistan, only 5% of people actually use Urdu as their first language. Punjabi is the main language out there. In India, they started using Urdu, and anybody who is speaking a chaste Hindi or a Sanskrit Hindi, that would be mocked. You see any of the movies? There is this song of Kishore Kumar, प्रिय प्राणेश्वरी आप यदि आदेश करे प्रेम का श्री गणेश करे. So it is always ki Sanskrit means you are mocking, it's a punga pandit. So this was another contribution. Dissociate our people, our society from its roots, from its culture. There are films where there is a film ready by Salman Khan where he comes and he cuts the shikha of a person, and then he says कि अबे शिखा ही तो काटा, खतना थोड़ी ना किया. So this is what has been promoted. This is the contribution of Bollywood, and sadly, I feel that we have become so infected by this generation. Maybe the third or the fourth generation from the generation that saw independence. A huge number of us are already deracinated to a large extent, and unless we start a process of reversal, and that process of reversal continues for the next 20-30 years, uh, we are in a hopeless situation.
Okay. So, Sanjeev ji, what do you think of the Kashmir Files? And it has become a huge success. It has got over 200 crore rupees in box office, and it has awakened a lot of Hindus. So, do you think that Kashmir Files has sort of awakened the Hindus in India?
Uh, I would say, okay, let me put it this way. Again, Kashmir Files is one film for which I have a soft corner. It is probably among the rare films that we at Gems of Bollywood have proactively promoted, because we believe that film is a medium. That is what, not if you look at Bharat's Natya Shastra, the film was supposed to be a medium to bring you closer to truth, to closer to Ishwar. Ishwar and Satyam is Shivam Sundaram. So Satyam is again a form of, so unless you know the truth, you are not close to Ishwar. So that was the purpose of cinema, of acting, of swang, of acting, natak. There are different forms of that. And sadly, it's both a moment of happiness, and it's a mixed feeling. It is a happy moment because finally we have a film, you know, which fulfills that original purpose of filmmaking. Um, which gives us the truth. This is the first film which gives us a truth. Uh, it is sad that it took us 75 years to come to this situation. More than 75 years, okay, yeah, 75 years to come to this situation that we have something finally which speaks the truth. And the whole process was such an ugly process. It didn't come easy, by the way. I have deep respect for Vivek Agnihotri ji because he himself, this film is also a saga of his own transformation. So there was a time when he was also part of the same Bollywood ecosystem, and probably his mindset was also from that. He has acknowledged that also, and then he opened his mind. He wrote against urban Naxals at some point in time, and then he, from there, he evolved to this place that he has made a one of the most truth-offering film. But if you look at the hypocrisy of Bollywood, people waited for all the evidences to see that Kashmir file doesn't become a flop. And only after that, rest of the Bollywood under pressure of people like you, under pressure of SSR warriors, under pressure of this whole country, making watching Kashmir Files a movement, that they started meekly praising the film. They're saying कि नहीं नहीं अच्छा है वगैरह. And even today, if you see, it is such a uh, it's a moment of sadness for me. It's a moment of grief for me, and actually, I have been mentally very upset since yesterday, since I saw Chief Minister of a state, mocking this Kashmir file, making a joke around it, and saying there is a party whose workers are putting posters of a film, and so it was such a forget about political compulsions and political you in politics you of course fight and you all try to get one up on each other and you try to find weaknesses. That's okay, yeah. But here we are talking of one of the worst tragedies of the country, and those. I mean, sorry to say, the Kashmiris who died, the Kashmiri Pandits who died uh, in that catastrophe, in that genocide, and many such genocides which have happened. The film has, by the way, only documented a few of them. There have been far more genocides which have not even been documented. The people who died were not all uh, voters or members of some Bharatiya Janata Party or even members of RSS. They belong to they cut across a lot of different political affiliations. Probably many of them were non-political. So this is not something. It is almost like if Pakistan attacks today. I'm not going to say that okay, oh, if Manmohan Singh is the chief minister, so hence I'll start supporting Pakistan. If Narendra Modi is the chief minister, then I will start going against. So certain things are above politics, and so even today, even after the film has earned 200 crores or whatever, and I wish it becomes the highest earning film of this country. If a chief minister in his assembly is mocking the film, joking, and all the other people are joking around it, it shows how insensitive we have become. And I think while Kashmir Files has been an important chapter of this transformation of Bollywood, we still have a long way to go.
So do you think there'll be more films which will show more of these truths which are hidden like for so many years, like in
Absolutely.
Kerala? Yeah,
Kerala, Mopla.
yes.
Mopla, 100 years of Mopla. Mopla has been one of the biggest disasters. And then Kerala, forget about Mopla is 100 years old. Definitely, there has to be a film on this. Even what happens in Mallapuram on an ongoing basis. You can make an entire complete detailed web series on that. Noah Khali, the entire direct action day, what happened in Calcutta on partition. I think now these films will be made. I, from part of, from Gems of Bollywood, I'll just be very candid about it. We are working on creating scripts for many such films, doing all the relevant researches, and looking at the partners, etc. So, from our side, whatever research, etc., that can be done for each of these massacres which have happened, all that this country has faced, and also many of the positive lessons that have happened. I'm not saying all has been grim and gory, but the truths, the hidden, the buried truths. So, this process has begun. My thanks to the entire team of Kashmir Files, who rose above their own selfish agendas, who rose above the urge to be, create just another masala movie, who listened to the voice of their souls, who produced something which was really the truth in its most honest format. And I'm also thankful to the people of this country who have shown their token of their humble token of thankfulness to these filmmakers. So I think the process has begun, and now this a new genre of films are now going to come in future.
So there has been a recent movement in Bollywood, Bollywood films are not doing well after the death of Sushant Singh Rajput. People have stopped watching Bollywood films because they are angry, and now stars are like now they are looking to South India, and they are collaborating with South Indian film industry to get the popularity back. Do you see that trend? They're aligning with Rajamouli and all those people.
Yes, yes, yes. I think Bollywood now realizes that a couple of things have happened, which has put Bollywood in crisis. Number one, Bollywood, we have to understand one thing, that if an industry, a 70-year-old industry, producing the highest number of films ever in the world, has always been, and with a lot of these veterans, who have reached the ripe of their age in Bollywood. Many are with us today, many are not with us today. But in the whole journey of filmmaking, they have only largely produced trash. If a 75-year-old director producer, he still aspires to not make a masterpiece but yet another formulaic trash. That means art, cinema, creativity was not at all their motivation in the first place. It means that Bollywood has been a facade for some other things which give them the real money. And if you look into the past, you will see Bollywood had its great associations with underworld, with terrorism. They are under scanner. There has been a Bollywood superstar who had to go to jail for his association for keeping AK-56. And then, there were these people who were holding placards for him. I support him. I support him. I support him. Which means that the real income, the real sources of income of Bollywood, etc., has been something else. It's a matter of surprise that a film like Dangal, it becomes the highest grossing film of this country ever, and then it makes its highest profit in China. So I don't know what happens. I'm not making any accusations, allegations, but it all doesn't. I have been into risk management. I have been into financial risk management, and if I have to do audit of these things, it will raise a scanner. I would not very easily trust that. Oh, this can happen. So what has happened is that so far it was easy, to even to use Bollywood as a way for money laundering. There have been cases of Bollywood being used for money laundering are in public domain. I am not saying this. There
Yes.
are books written by this, and uh, you know. So what happens is, earlier it was very easy. You make a film, you launch it, you say itne theaters mein lag gaya film, and then say कि वो इतना का sale हो गया, tickets का वगैरह. So nobody knows. There is nobody 100 crore, 200 crore, any figure can come. There is no way to verify. Now what has happened is more and more of digitization of economy that is happening, uh, that those margins, those are coming under stress. Then what has happened is, with the explosion of technology, there people have alternate ways of entertainment. Now with also OTT platforms coming in and people suddenly having access to a global world cinema, many people can realize, अरे ये क्या देख रहा हूँ, मतलब oh, ये तो इसमें से चोरी किया है, ये तो ये किया है. They can clearly see the stark difference between a Bollywood film and even a small independent filmmaker from France creating something out. So what is happening is that people are suddenly disillusioned in midst of this, when already you are facing competition, you're facing that identity crisis, like typewriters faced when computers came in. And then suddenly, something like Sushant Singh Rajput's death and its reaction to that happens. That brings a lot of anger. Ki, who the hell are these people? We have, one of the famous actresses in Bollywood. She arrogantly said, ki, oh, if you don't like, why do you watch our movies? So
Yes.
people said, oh, thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, we won't watch your movies. So what has happened is, now Bollywood, the people are disillusioned. People no more like Bollywood. And then, of course, even in YouTube, people have observed that it is far more interesting to watch, subscribe to some of these YouTubers and watch their channels, and get some more better infotainment than watch these people. So what has happened? They are now struggling. Now the same situation is happening down in south also. So even the Telugu film industry, even the Tamil film industry, everybody is grappling with this changes happening. Bollywood is grappling far more because it had far more influence of a different sort. Others are happening. So now they are saying, okay, let us merge our hands together and let us do something else. Another thing that has happened is that Bollywood would earlier, Bollywood, so far the formula of Bollywood was plagiarism. You blatantly lift a story and make. And now people have started identifying all the famous songs on which people have romanced their future spouses or have got motivation for themselves in their dark times, etc. Suddenly they realize, अरे ये तो चोरी किया हुआ था, तो गुमनाम है कोई, अरे वो भी वहां से चोरी कर लिया था, अरे दिल क्या करे किसी से प्यार हो जाए, अरे वो भी चोरी कर लिया था, और वो चुरा लिया है तुमने, ये भी चोरी किया हुआ था, अरे सभी चोरी किया हुआ था. So what has happened is कि now people are able to identify. So these people who thrived, who for whom creativity means how good you can make a copy, suddenly बोले कि अब नया बनाऊं कहाँ से. So then they are saying it's better कि South के साथ, at least South, all said and done, the film industry of South, whether Tollywood or this Chennai film industry, they have been far more original than Bollywood. If you think of even say music directors, obviously somebody like Ilya Raja or even A.R. Rahman is a far more original music director than compared to a Preetham or an Anu Malik out here. So suddenly they find it much easy to collaborate with them and then come together. So this is a struggle for survival which is happening.
Also, there's a problem of nepotism in Bollywood. That has,
Yes.
so if you can just elaborate on that point.
See, nepotism is, see, I would say Bollywood doesn't do nepotism by choice. Bollywood does nepotism by compulsion. Because I said the real incomes are something else. There is a facade. When a film is made, uh, how much is paid to whom, how much is officially said that isko itna mila hai payment, what are the financials of this, what is the insider info or outsider info, because of plagiarism and everything is there. So in that case it becomes important that only an insider group of people are made part of it. And that is why somebody like somebody sharp like Sushant Singh Rajput comes and who simply starts shining by his brilliance. Maybe probably when he started acting in films, etc., they said, okay, he's a small entity, chalo le lo kar lo koi tarike se. But then when he starts shining, and that is where they feel threatened. So Bollywood, it's a safety wall for them ki we will not allow any outsiders to come. We will put embargoes on having anybody outsider as an actor, as a director. And these days, if you see the movies, most of the films, uh, the major actors are themselves the co-producers of the film, which in other sense means what? That see, the shooting of a lot of these films nowadays happen only in small studios. Background me, they do a put all those, because now technology has evolved, so they don't have to actually go to far away places to make those shootings. So what is the primary cost? The primary cost is the cost of labor, which is the cost of the big actors. Now Akshay Kumar, he says, okay, I will take itna crore rupees for acting in a movie, but then Akshay Kumar's Cape of Good Films is itself the producer of the film. So it is like again, Nehru giving himself Bharat Ratna, or I myself signing a paycheck and giving myself. So it becomes easy nepotism in Bollywood, and that is why over period of time it became a culture in Bollywood. And nowadays, of course, then people are also struggling. Again, interesting thing that has happened is that with this OTT coming, a lot of these small actors are also coming in, shining, and then people are noticing them. So now suddenly Bollywood is struggling because Bollywood has also do a balancing act. It can't always thrive on nepotism, but then produce something which doesn't even cater to public demand. And that is why probably it is trying to shift its base to south as well. And I think a lot of churning is happening in Bollywood. Some of my insider info say that people are perturbed, and in a way, at least some people I know are angry on Sushant Singh Rajput for their whole well laid, the best laid plans, the way the whole system was going. Suddenly his sacrifice destroys everything.
So you see, the Bollywood ecosystem has changed right now. Some like
There are now groups being formed inside Bollywood. It's almost like in the milk you pour a few drop of lemon water, and then you can clearly see. For example, when Kashmir Files happened, suddenly there is a shift. There are people who immediately praised. There is a one camp which realizes that future is Hindutva. Okay, let me put it this way. There is a camp of people who realize. I mean, if you historically everybody was same. I mean, if you take everybody's track record before 2010, 2011, 2012, everybody was same. But now suddenly some people realize that future is Hindutva. Future is somebody like a Narendra Modi or somebody like a Yogi Adityanath, and people who support him, the kind of profile of people who support him. So those people, they realize they have become one set of groups. There are those people who are ideologically very strongly aligned to nurture a disdain for anything to do with Hinduism. They form another group. And then there are those fence sitters who always look कि अच्छा अभी किधर का पलड़ा भारी है. Kashmir file, okay, has it made 100 crore? Okay, let me praise. So there are some people who after it made 100 crore, 120 crore, they said कि better praise, otherwise people will start cursing us also. So now everybody, it has become like a trend that everybody is trying to praise. But then you will find some obstinate people who will definitely not praise. Instead, they will call Mamta Banerjee, and then they will lament in front of her ki how we are being tortured and we are being troubled. So so there are these different kinds of people with different ideologies, people who are opportunists, and hence this segregation, this clustering is happening within Bollywood. Every small group is now trying to find its way to survive. See, you have to understand, whenever there is a band of pirates, uh, the trust and loyalty among pirates is never a long-term thing. It's always a function of opportunism. So they are together when they know that they can together loot and share the loot and keep looting. But the moment they have to fight among each other, they also separate and they will not think much before they go for kill among each other. I mean, this is the typical pirate behavior. So something similar. I won't say Bollywood people are pirates. I have been an admirer of pirates stories, by the way, so I won't compare them with Bollywood. But then something similar is happening.
how much control do you think these OTT platforms like Amazon and Netflix have on what kind of content should be on their platforms?
Okay, I will tell you what. A typical, most of you, and as you know, the most of our viewers are also from abroad, so they know that, typically an OTT platform, most of which are controlled by somebody outside, be it Disney in Hotstar or an Amazon Prime or Netflix is a company outside, or maybe there are a few more which are cropping up. So they are primarily, see, they don't have any emotions for any religion or etc. They're mostly woke people, I would say. They are more bothered about their income. So anybody who can make a movie or a web series and give them on a good rate, they will go for it. So it's in a way a transparent culture. Though I would say they still have, because there is this whole ecosystem of trying to you know trying to portray Muslims as victims across the globe. So everybody is hit by that bug. Whether that is true or false, that's a different matter. Even in UN, they came up with something called an Islamophobe Day, which I feel is a hilarious thing. So that is there, and that they do because they're part of a coterie, their corporate profile. But beyond that, they are pretty transparent. So they will say कि anybody who makes money for us, it's okay with us. Initially, they thought that these Bollywood filmmakers, if we release their films, that will fetch us a lot of money. So even for these many of the Bollywood filmmakers, it became for a short time a good business. कि, okay, I'll just make a film, I'll sell it to Netflix or Amazon Prime, etc. Who cares? But then these people realize that, especially after the Sushant Singh Rajput's sacrifice, that people are angry, and they know internally that people are not watching those shows, those films as much as some of their other things. So they have also started tightening their screws, and that is again one of the reason why they are going south, etc. Because they are struggling now. Obviously, Netflix has no emotional attachment with any Amitabh Bachchan or Akshay Kumar or Shah Rukh Khan or anybody. It is there to do its business. I mean, in their scheme of world, these Bollywood film industries, they don't even film celebrities, they don't even exist. Nobody cares. Nobody knows. I mean, even a Shah Rukh Khan goes to USA, he's stripped and he's checked. So he may be a hero out there. He's not a hero across the globe. So that is where, for them it's just like, we will take you as yet another, business partner. If you make us good money, fine. Otherwise, we will have tighter terms with you. So that again has become a another cause of their meltdown. Now, even the ticketing business has now been controlled by many of these companies, which has become relatively automated, though they still play with it. I'm not sure who controls many of these ticketing businesses, but so overall, what is happening is that the amount of leverage, the control they had in past to mix their other sources of income along with their, so-called film business, that is now reducing. There was a time when Chalti Ka Naam Gadi by Kishore Kumar, he made that film deliberately to show loss and not pay the taxes. He admitted it was from one of his interviews. But those things have become difficult now. And now, with people observing every single action of these Bollywood people, uh, you know, every new news of, okay, यहाँ पे drug पकड़ा गया, यहाँ पर ये हुआ, यहाँ पे ये हुआ, that comes out, so suddenly things are changing. There are no more those big stars that they used to be in past. Hence, they are struggling. I feel Bollywood is facing an identity crisis.
Right. So, how do you see the future of Indian cinema as such? Do you think that South Indian film will take over the whole Indian film business, or how do you see that?
Okay, definitely. South Indian films are far better than Bollywood films. Less formulaic, though there are trash makers in South Indian films also. I would not deny that. In South also there is this entire lobby which is obsessed with this idea of Aryan Dravid separatism, and those people are there. But by and large, the quality of filmmaking is better. So definitely, people will find South Indian films to be more attractive than these Bollywood junk that is being produced. But I feel that on a larger scale, what is going to happen is that people will start getting internationalized. Number one, people now have access to world cinema at large. And if you see some of the trends of the larger films produced in Hollywood, for example, the Mission Impossible series. The new Mission Impossible series, they deliberately chose an accent, an international accent, which is far more understood by everybody across the world, be it somebody in Taiwan, be it somebody in China. So they use far more simple. So it's no more that typical American accent, or a very American, local American accent, which nobody else understands. You just can't watch without subtitles. So number one, of course, now the subtitles are also very easily available for practically every film and movie, and they are also now trying to target the entire global market as a whole. So, and also these independent filmmakers. See, filmmaking has become a very relatively inexpensive business. And if you recall, some of you who are in corporate, there was a time when there was a time when when we used to make PowerPoint presentation. When PowerPoint initially came, people were very obsessed with how the transitions would be and how animations would be. But then after time, people got fed up. They said, a slide, just 5 words, 5 lines, plain simple, that is the best. So the smart art feature in PowerPoint is one of the least used feature. People don't care for that. Similarly, now with advent of technology, 3D, virtual reality, etc., people are no more obsessed with how much of special effects you can show. People are now looking again back to more fundamental, simple stories, simple telling. Look at some of the most successful YouTube videos, and they are some of the most simple videos, not even shot in a high definition camera. So this means the whole world is open for people who are seeking, who can create entertainment or infotainment. People like you and me can also create. So now it is becoming a far more decentralized, democratized filmmaking thing, and hence I feel the The future is that this whole industry will, in a way, collapse.
It'll
It's
collapse.
inevitable. It will
And
collapse.
hmm,
People will find better ways of entertainment. People will find a lot of people who are making similar content. End of the day, people watch Bollywood for entertainment. If I can entertain myself in 20 different ways, I'll go for that.
and do you see the OTT platforms taking over the theater business in India?
It may happen, but I personally feel that the theater business, I don't see theater business as a long-term sustainable business in future. It may be still be a business just for money laundering purpose. कि okay, you can show इतना का टिकट खर्चा हुआ ये to book expenses etc. But I feel that unless it's a film like Kashmir Files, you know I don't think that by and large people will be very enthused to go to theaters when you can from the comfort of your own home you can get the same feel and experience. I feel theater business is bound to suffer. I mean, even today, a lot of people would still, preferences have changed. People would still prefer to watch a movie with their earphones on their smartphone rather than go to theater.
Right. So now, some of the trends I observed in Bollywood is that you have some Bollywood actresses. They, dress in very short dresses, and they, publish short videos in Instagram and everything. Getting some sort of PR attention. Do you see that also? Is that a natural sort of audience, or is it like paid audience? What is your opinion?
See, this Bollywood, this has been a gimmick of Bollywood, and not only Bollywood, I think models across the world. And See, I tell you what. See, what is happening is that now again with Instagram coming in, and this 4G connections becoming easier, HD video making becoming easier. You will see so many people becoming glamorous models etc. coming. So which are giving a tough competition to even the models etc. So again there is an identity crisis. So I would say most of these followership etc. Most of the campaigns by Bollywood films there etc. They are all paid. There is no doubt about it. There was a tweet by Filmfare, oh, massive massive upload for this thing, etc., etc. And we thought, okay, and you have a account with some 2 million or whatever, 1 million followers, and then you have only 20 people, 30 people, just looking that. So these are artificial numbers. There was a survey, I think, which said that almost 60-70% of the followers of these people are proven to be bots or this thing. So this is just a, I would say, and but unfortunately, as I said, everybody is competing with everybody else in Bollywood, so they have to do these things just to stay relevant. There is a huge crisis among young actresses on getting new roles, new films, even some veteran actresses, and because there are now too many competitors out there for them. So yes, so they do a lot of these things, and it's a I just pity them. That's all I would say. But those are definitely not natural traffic. Uh, there is also, there is no more that natural craze for seeing skin show now because it is far more ubiquitously available for everybody. So those era are gone where somebody would just make a pose with some short dress and people will go gung ho because everybody is doing it. So far, so many people are doing it. So it's no more that thing. People have evolved from that phase. So I think it's they just do to just show that okay they are still relevant, and then they pay some marketeer who would give them some figures of engagement. They become happy. Yes.
So, do you see after the Kashmir File success, do you see more films which will highlight, Hindutva in a very good light? You see the same Bollywood producers
Yes,
making.
yes, yes, yes. You will suddenly see a dramatic change of heart. You can already see in Akshay Kumar, for example. Akshay Kumar, till recently, Atrangi Re, his film was again promoting love jihad and etc. He completed those films. For the next 2 years, he has only Hindutva films in line. He completed his old films. Akshay Kumar has been one of those few actresses who has produced among the most films mocking Hindus. uh, in all possible forms, and from producing oh my god to we're mocking Hanuman Chalisa to kicking a kamandal with his foot, and he has done all sorts of antics. But now suddenly you will see he will become the first person to say Ram Mandir makes me happy. The same people were regretting Ram Mandir, in that they never talked about Ram Mandir ever. But now suddenly this has happened. Even Anupam Kher, for example, for that matter, he starred and he has done a wonderful role in Kashmir Files. But if you look at his track record, he started his career with Mahesh Bhatt, and Mahesh Bhatt was the fellow who gave him break, and he has done a lot of Hindu phobic films. But now the trend has changed. Paresh Rawal, for example, he was doing something like oh my god, and even now because of his associations with this Javed Akhtar's son, Javed Akhtar, he made that film Tufan, in which he mocked love jihad fantasies. But now the future projects will again be Hindu. So obviously, see, they are here to make money. See, I can tell you what, most people in Bollywood, they actually don't hate Hinduism. Most people in Bollywood, they are there to make money. They don't love Hinduism either. Anything that makes money for them, they will do. Earlier, the people who played the strings of Bollywood, of whom these people were puppets, they used to hate Hinduism. Now they are seeing there is a new trend. Loving Hinduism is also becoming viable. They will start. I mean, who knows? You will find a lot of films. I mean, suddenly you will find only saffron-colored films out there. I mean, tomorrow you may see everybody just making a dress code of Bollywood that we will wear only saffron. But that is going to happen.
So, like, do you see an outside agenda, like, Western countries supporting this anti-Hindu sentiment? Do you see that?
Of course, there is no hidden. I mean, this is not a hidden secret. I mean, you just look at the last three major ugly protest movements that happened in this country. You look at the Shaheen Bagh protest, the Delhi riots. You look at this farmer protest and the way it was turned into a Khalistani drama, and how the whole toolkit mafia came together from across the globe and supporting it. You look at the statement of George Soros, where he says that I want to make sure that these forces are destroyed. You see the kind of support that somebody like Audrey Ruchki, whatever her name is, and who makes the most frivolous statement based on the least amount of research. Look at the kind of patronization that they get. So obviously, there is a whole bunch of people out there who have this agenda against Hinduism, a very strong agenda. That agenda was there even at the time of British people. That agenda still persists, and more this Hindutva rises, uh, more these people will also get desperate, and they will invest a lot of money just to counter this thing. So, and then of course, then it becomes a battle of who is more gutsy. There will be people. If you show that you are the alpha, many of them will get tamed and they will switch sides. With others, of course, Devasur Sangram there, that will still continue. But yes, it is definitely planned. I mean, look at the way most of these tech giants behave. I mean, look at the kind of censorship they do. Uh, you start you make some tweets related to atrocity on Hindus compared to atrocity on Muslims. Look at the kind of reactions that you get. Look at the way accounts are shadow banned. The things are very clear. I mean, and all of them are in unison. Out there to say that okay, this is a great threat. So that this whole narrative has been sold out there that okay, the majority Hindus of this country have been tormenting the minority Muslims and they are the victims, and that 2002, that photo of that one fellow folding his hand. I mean, that fellow is living a happy, good life today, but then that is being marketed everywhere. So we are facing this thing. The entire global press that is against Hindus. And these are the people who control even these OTTs or even these filmmaking. They are the people who invest in all your entertainment, media, and fashion businesses. So these are the areas in which they invest, and even technology for that matter these days. So this is going to, so they are going to further there. this thing. We are also going to support certain political parties, uh, you know, who do the kind of laugh that chief minister of one of those parties did yesterday shamelessly in the assembly.
So now people have shown their strength, as in like they stopped watching Bollywood films after the death of Sushant Singh Rajput, and this has sort of Sadak 2 was the most disliked YouTube trailer in the world,
Mm.
right? So people
Yes.
have shown their power also
Yes.
as to what they choose to watch on theaters, and Bollywood has really been impacted after this point, right?
Yes, but I would say that people in the people of this country are very simple, very gullible. They get pleased very easily.
Mhm.
Any Ravan can come and dress as a monk, and he can do Sita Haran. This has been, I mean, people have not still learned lesson from that particular episode of Ramayana, and hence, even though Sadak 2 failed, I mean, the way many of these people started showing craze for Gangubai, though I do doubt that the amount of success that they are claiming, I mean, I don't believe that is the real success, but still, I feel the amount of anger that was there for Sadak 2, that anger should have been multiplied by now. Why has that anger dwindled? Why are we so keen on forgiving people even before they have asked for our, even before they have apologized to us? They are not asking you to forgive, but you are forgiving them. What is this? I mean, why I mean, why is not there that much of an outrage about Sushant Singh Rajput's death? Even after that, we know that even the police fellow who was investigating, he is now himself an absconding fellow. So I think people, we need to have more stamina in regards to these things. And yes, Sadak 2 was a shocker for Bollywood. It scared Bollywood a big time, but I believe these shockers have to be given on a regular basis.
Mhm. So, as in, like, people should, sort of, fully watch nationalist films like Kashmir
I would
Files.
say, I would very strongly recommend. It is good for your brain, it's good for your children, it's good for your nation. You will make sure that your money doesn't go into any of the nefarious activities from all perspectives. I would say that unless they make a movie with an overtly clear nationalistic agenda, a dharmic agenda, you should not watch that movie. If you want to watch, you can. You most of you have the subscriptions for OTT, or you have at least YouTube out there. I mean, there are far more options for entertainment today than ever in this history of human civilization. You watch any of those things. I mean, you watch international shows here. I mean, it's still better. But then please don't just get out of this. It is actually bad for your brain. It dumps your brain, and it puts your money in the all the wrong places. It should not be in the place. And why should you be funding people, your hard-earned money you are giving to those people, who just scatter the money, and they are not even thankful to this nation, who are not loving the culture of this nation, and whose own, one of their own people who dies, and then they say ki, okay, mar gaya to mar gaya, who cares? So I feel I don't want to use the word boycott, because Bollywood is a brand, I think, owned by Disney, and I don't want to get into legal troubles, but I personally don't watch Bollywood. Even for running gems of Bollywood, I have understood the nerves of Bollywood in such nice ways that I don't have to watch those movies. I can exactly say, I can get some people to say, okay, okay, यहाँ पे देखो कुछ होगा. So even 15 minute, 20 minute they can do, and then of course we have other ways. We have already a great collection of the gems which we are still to put. But for your healthy brain, I for example, I make sure that my money doesn't go for Bollywood. I will never do that sin.
Okay, okay. So, apart from Gems of Bollywood, you're doing some other activities as well. Can you just explain to the audience what you do?
Yeah, so I started an organization called Agniveer, and Agniveer is a grassroots level organization. It reaches up to the masses. There are multiple areas that it works in, and one of the prime focus is to bring back the people back to our Sanatan Dharma. So it does a lot of work in those areas, like the tribals, the Dalit communities. the poor people, poor, including poor Brahmins for that matter, who are, vulnerable to conversions. So poverty has been an excuse made for conversion. So we are operating many parts of the country where we stop the conversion, we reverse the conversion, we try to bring education, employment, support for the people so that don't get into those areas. And along with that, we do a lot of prachar of dharma at all levels to stop this thing. We also have a very active team. Probably we have one of the largest vibrant active team which fights against illegal slaughter. So we have the team that even in Godra, for example, uh, our team makes sure we have our network and our entire ecosystem in place, that anybody who tries to take illegal cattle for slaughter, we catch hold of them and we get full support of police for that. We conduct raids in assistance with police. So we you can call us Gorakshak, but people assume something else with the name Gorakshak. But yeah, we call ourselves Gosevaks. So we do that, not only Goseva, but all forms of animals, any kind of illegal slaughter, we stop. That is our service to Sanatan Dharma. We also work against uh, social problems like love jihad, girl trafficking, child trafficking, and we have actively worked with even Child Commission, Women Commission, SC Commission to get rescue a lot of vulnerable people. And this is an ongoing thing we do, and bring justice. Uh, uh, get the people arrested who should be arrested. So these are some of the areas we work on, and yes, so that becomes one of the prime areas. Our agenda is to uh, revive the true Sanatan Dharma with all its diversity and beauty back to this country, and hate and this hate against this fake propaganda. We have a lot of books. Some of the books are among the best sellers on Amazon, on the true history of Mughals, on the real Sanatan Dharma, on the attacks which are made on Hinduism and what are the answers to them. So yes, in a way, Ved has a um, mantra. One part of the mantra is Krinvanto Vishwamarya, make the whole world Arya, and that is what we believe in.
Yeah, you do a lot of incredible work, Sanjeev ji.
Thanks. It's all support of people like you and a lot of people. I'm just a medium, which channelizes that thing, but it's all people's work. I'm nothing.
And people can follow you in your Twitter handle at
Yes, Sanjeev Sanskrit.
Sanjeev Sanskrit.
Yes.
Okay, okay. And do you have any and this Agniveer? You have a website or something which people can follow, or how is it?
Agniveer also has a Twitter handle, Agniveer. You
Okay,
can follow that. It's also in my bio, the
yeah.
link of this thing. And we also have a website, agniveer.com.
Okay, so people can follow all
Yes,
the
people can follow people, because we on our Twitter handle and our Facebook also, Agniveer. Agni is our Facebook. You can search for Agniveer, you will get. We put each and almost all the updates. A lot of these updates we put on a regular basis, including, for example, for Goraksha, because people would say that, oh, you are doing an illegal thing. So we will actually put live videos on how we chase cattle smugglers, and how we rescue the cows, and how we take do it in a perfectly legal way. So people can follow us, people can bless us, people can question us, people can interact with us in all ways.
So, how do you think common public people can spread awareness of all this, the dharmic values, Hindu values? How do you think, as a common person?
Okay, see, first of all, I would say, uh, Ved has a beautiful mantra which says that, how to approach Satya. So one of the part of the mantra is idam aham anritat satyam upayami, which says the first step to get to the Satya is that what is asatya, I will leave. See, the ultimate truth nobody knows. I mean, that's only a process of evolution. Only the realized souls among us know. But at least what I know, for example, the SSR warriors, they realize that this Bollywood is a something which is causing even only death and negativity. They said no, we won't watch. They trended boycott Bollywood, and they are still doing it with full stamina, full fervor even after 2 years. So it is something like this. Look around yourself. Whatever is wrong, if you are being fed wrong history, don't accept it. If you are, said chalo chalta hai, ye to theek hai, ye to theek hai, media, entertainment, the things which impact your mind, first of all start objecting towards it. The second is, there are a lot of organizations like Agniveer, like VHP, like RSS, like even Bajrang Dal, like I said, so don't go by what this mainstream media talks about them. Try to find yourself and at least support one or two of these organizations. Try to support. I sometimes feel bad even for, the people say, okay, isme ye log ye galat karte hai, wo karte hai. I mean, everybody, we all are defective people, we may have defects. The best of the people may have defects. Even Ram was accused of being a defective, Bhagwan Ram. So, but try to be supportive of them, try to support them financially, try to promote their good work, and accept the fact that, okay, when a large organization runs, there may be some mistakes, there may be even some bad people who get into the fold at times, but if the overall direction is right, support them. Make sure that you don't get into, you don't fall, be part of anything wrong, asatya. Simply reject it. And the second is, I would say very strongly, I would say that the Hindus start to, begin reading their own scriptures. Nothing, something like Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. If you don't have time, 73 verses or 74 verses, and entire, summary of Bhagavad Gita, read the meaning, read, understand. I mean, start the day with those things. And soon you will see that transformation start happening. Often what happens is we start talking of grand narratives, we start talking of ye hona chahiye, wo hona chahiye, but we forget the spiritual foundation. We forget swadhyay, which is so necessary for spiritual foundation. Yes, bhakti is necessary. I also believe there should be bhakti. There should be at least 15 minutes of time when you are only with your God, with your Bhagwan. You may be doing your puja, you may be doing your archana, you may be doing your dhyan, but no worldly thing, nothing else. 15 minutes of, I would say, bhakti, devotion with your Ishwar, and at least 15-30 minutes of swadhyay, your scriptures. Any scripture you feel ki, okay, I want to read Vishnu Sahasranam, by the way, is a wonderful scripture. People don't realize, I mean, we often just, take it as a chanting, Shuklam Dharam Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam. But if you look at the meanings of those words, etc., I mean, they are transformational. Our scriptures are full of such wisdom. And I tell you, Jaydev ji, uh, if people, if we Hindus start getting into our scriptures, start understanding those scriptures, and start extracting the nectar out of those scriptures, we will soon lose complete interest from trying to seek entertainment from all these shoddy sources. So I think we need to do it. It may take time. It may take 5 year, 10 year. I think that culture has to be built, and every Hindu can do this. Swami Dayanand Saraswati once said a very good thing. तो बोला है कि he was giving some lecture on Vedas, etc. बोला इतना किसी को कैसे, how will people understand such intricate things, such ज्ञान योग? He said that, okay, everybody cannot be a scholar, everybody cannot be a vidwan, but everybody can be a dharmic. And who is a dharmic? Who is saying, okay, whatever I is my potential, whatever is my level, whatever I understand, whatever access I have, let me try to surrender my petty soul, towards it, and try to genuinely try to understand, try to value them, try to respect them. It's as simple as that. कोई grand narrative नहीं चाहिए. Like when we started Gems of Bollywood, I didn't know. I mean, I was for sure, I knew that I will be badly trolled because Bollywood is the biggest inspiration for so many people. But then happened. Initially, you were trolled also. The Economist wrote an article on us. In its international, all it is published
Oh,
all across the world. It says that it has caused 80% fall in Bollywood. This thing because of Sushant Singh Rajput died, and then these people are doing this, etc. A huge amount of hit zone. Pakistan's Dawn, this newspaper that wrote an article on us. Wire, of course, finds a way to attack people like us. So we had, and but then we said, okay, it's a dharmic work for us. Similarly, all of us, we should do this. I mean, take inspiration from Sushant Singh Rajput. I mean, look at some of his tweets. I mean, have you seen him singing Achyutam? Oh, Sri Krishna, which one was that? Sri Krishna Govind Hare Murari, I think.
he used to sing devotional songs of Lord
Yes,
Shiva. If
Yes, yes, Lord Shiva, and he would sing, he would get lost in that. So that's something very simple.
Yeah, and also one more important point that Kritika raises is that the school textbooks like NCERT and all, they don't show the history of Hindu
Hey,
kings.
they will not show. They will not show. I think उसके लिए just a minute. Okay, sorry. So see, if you look at the 2006 education policy, clearly state that we have to promote Urdu. We have to make sure that it very subtly puts, but the essence is that we don't have to give them any moral values. Forget about for you are talking of dharmic or history. Class 1, class 2, we started a handle called Gems of Books. I mean, we have not tweeted on it for a while now, but we gave example from class 1, class 2, class 3 books. Even when you're including a poem out there, you're including a small chapter, it can have some moral message, but no. Here, chapter एक मरियल सी गाय आई थी, मरियल सी गाय, you know एक मोटी औरत आके, I mean moti aurat, I mean why are you fat shaming? So these are the things they are doing. So they had a very clear agenda. In fact, in class 6, class 7, some of the books they have justified why some of the people attacked and raped our people. So here they were doing, they in 2006, see 2000, when did this fellow, 2004 this fellow came, Manmohan Singh. By 2006, he changed the educational, the entire course curriculum, and then he put up his secular. The current NCRT books, I would say, they're a piece of trash. I'll be so strong enough to say that, you should not teach those books. You should stop, because in any case, I think now it is, when you can't fail any student till class 10, I think. So why you want to teach them? You teach them other things. बोला कि अगर, and if you have to teach, ask them कि अच्छा बाद में बेटा, just memorize it like a poem or something, but don't take it seriously. It's a joke. So it's a shame. The NCRT books are a shame. And if the country, for last 15, 16 years, 16 years, the children of this country, the vulnerable minds of this country, the minds of the country which have to be shaped in the right direction, they are reading this trash, then obviously we are only creating a generation of woke, foolish people, which is unfortunately becoming true. NCRT books are total hogwash. They don't teach history. History, in fact, ever since independence, nobody has taught us history. We have been only fed lies. Mughal, Mughal contribution. Mughals were the most, uh, I mean, they were far worse than Osama bin Laden and Baghdadi. They were the worst beast that you could have. And a typical Mughal Darbar, they saw that, Shan, Shaukat, etc. The typical Mughal Darbar was somebody putting kheni, tambaku, bidi, smell, stenching like anything. And tobacco was such an addiction. And Akbar, for example, there is a description that Akbar would, he would also always be so much in intoxication that in the darbar he would just doze off. And at one time, Akbar and Mansingh, they both got drunk and they started fighting each other and tearing each other's clothes. So this is the reality of Akbar. Shahad is the two children of Akbar, two sons of Akbar. They died due to alcoholism. They died young due to alcoholism. Are we told this? They were a bunch of sex perverts, drug addicts. Are we told that Shahjahan justified, having close relation with his own daughter by saying that a gardener has the right to eat the fruit that he has produced? Well, so we are all being taught lies. So it's a total junk, and I think we have to bring out the real history, and probably you have to push Bollywood to bring out some of these real histories.
yeah, do you think that will happen?
डंडा मारेंगे. No, that's the only way it will happen. To please
Yeah,
us, they may do. If you trust them, if you respect them, if you request them, they will definitely not do. But if you threaten them and they know that the consequences may be far worse, then probably they will do. Else, we'll let them disintegrate.
yeah. So, any last comments you would like to say to the audience before we end the session?
I would say that support this Candid Meena channel. and it's actually a candid channel, and I also became very candid today. And I would say that, uh, don't even show slightest soft corner for Urdu Wood or anybody who plays with your dharmic values, your sentiments, your children, your women, respect for them. Don't show any sentiment. You have far more. You're designed. You are created by Ishwar for far better things. You deserve far better forms of entertainment, and you are you are children of Ram and Krishna. You should be way above these stupid peoples and their antics.
Yeah, so
That's all.
thank you, Sanjeev ji, for a very interesting and informative interview. And we do hope that you will join us for another session in the near future.
Sure, sure. And my honor. Thank you so much, Jaydev ji. I do let Meena ji know that I really missed her presence. I really admire and respect her. But thank you very much. You conducted a very fantastic session. And my thanks for giving me this opportunity to share my candid thoughts with you all. Dhanyavad.
And friends, you can follow Sanjeev ji. You can mention all your Twitter handles and how they can follow you in on Twitter or something.
Yes, yes, I'll mention. Maybe on tweet I will do, or maybe if you follow Gems of Bollywood in the bio of Gems of Bollywood, you have that.
So, friends, you can follow Sanjeev ji at on Twitter at Gems of Bollywood, and you can follow him on his personal account as well. So, Sanjeev ji,
Sanjeev
thank
Samskar.
you once again.
Thank you. Then.